Over the past 40 years, America has fallen behind in the educational landscape. We've become accustomed to being below average in many measurements compared to other countries. A 2006 test conducted by the Program in International Student Assessment concluded the following. The United States is below average in science, math, reading. Actually, we're above the worldwide reading average. Who would have thought? Probably not the students in this room, because do you know what the United States is furthest below average at? Problem solving. For more, we turn to Ms. Anna Jackson, an English lecturer at SIU, to find out how we have fallen behind.
When you look at what's going on now, the inequalities that exist in these schools that we have today, it's not the same thing in the sense that we're saying separate is equal, but it almost resembles that.
The ideology of separate but equal was deemed unconstitutional in 1954 in the historic case of Brown versus the Board of Education.
But you have to remember that Brown v. Board of Education came about as a result of that 1896 decision, Plessy versus Ferguson. And so with that, you had all these things of what you could not do, and separate was equal. Well, of course you know separate was not equal.
While the argument in Brown versus the Board of Education was an argument centered around racial inequality, unequal funding is a problem that not many people are paying attention to in American education. The taxes that citizens pay in each district are the source of this gap in funding.
It's tax-based, and it's money that the states give to each one of the districts. And so when the state, as we are saying now, the state has no money, so the schools have no money. Tax bases in different places are different.
Yes, they are. They're very different. Let's take a look at just how contrasted these tax bases can be with New Trier High School and Luther Burbank Middle School. Let's take a look at New Trier High School, home of the Trevians. If you were wondering what a Trevian is, it's basically a Spartan but way more pretentious. At New Trier, students are bathed in resources, classes in aeronautics, computer languages, and an operating television station with tri-county broadcasting abilities. 7 different foreign languages are taught at New Trier, and New Trier spends over $35,000 per student per year, almost double the Illinois state average. These are students with immense privileges that start from a basic right to education. Now, let's look at Luther Burbank. In Linda Darling Hammond's book, The Flat World in Education, Luther Burbank's shortcomings are alarming. The most recent encyclopedia was from 1988. Dead rodents lay in the gymnasium to rot, an extreme lack of textbooks, no air conditioning, and since the school is in California, that's a 90-degree classroom to learn in, and, as if this all weren't bad enough, students have been exposed to urinating and defecating on themselves due to the one functioning bathroom that Luther Burbank has. Now, as terrible as this sounds, there was reform.
Williams versus California was filed in the year 2000 by the ACLU and other legal organizations. The case was filed on behalf of thousands of students throughout the state of California due to the terrible conditions in many of the public schools throughout the state. Finally, after 4 years, the case settled, and from that settlement came new standards. Those standards are that you now have the right to have a school in good repair, clean, safe, and functional. You also have the right to have a book to use in school and one to take home to do your homework. And you have the right to have a permanent and qualified teacher. If any of these standards are not
that all sounds great, and that sounds like the right thing to do. But for Luther Burbank Middle School, it took over 40 years to get accomplished.
In many places, classrooms are overcrowded and curricula are outdated. Most of our qualified teachers are underpaid, and many of our paid teachers are unqualified. So we must give every child a place to sit and a teacher to learn from. Poverty must not be a bar to learning, and learning must offer an escape from poverty.
If a lawsuit is what it takes, but it shouldn't be, because this is America. What does the great New Colossus say? Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. When people came here to this country, that's what they were looking for. All types of freedoms. And one of the things was to be able to be educated.
And now it's time to find a solution to the problem. But who's to say what that is? Is it more federal funding? An equal distribution of wealth? A federal income tax devoted solely to funding education? I honestly don't know. But there are two things here that are certain.
Until America gets to the place where it values education and the children that it's educating, we will rank behind other people.
That one of the definitions of insanity is changing nothing and then pretending that something will change.